I announced the last couple weeks that Christmas on Sunday morning, this would be the last chance we would have this for the next 11 years. Because of the cycle and leap year and everything, it's usually every 6 to 7 years, but we now enter into one of those long jumps. And so this cycle doesn't happen again for 11 years. We will not be in church on Christmas morning for 11 years. And that got me contemplating this morning a little bit. Sad about this thought, but I probably won't be preaching that morning when it comes again. I plan to one day retire. 11 years from now, I'll be 48 already, so. But just had me thinking, who knows? Who knows? Lord willing, maybe I will be, but it's questionable. And so you took a special moment today to come out and just be a part of a church service. And I just love that. And I'm so glad that you're here. Christmas is filled with all kinds of symbols. There's secular Christmas symbols, and then there's Christian Christmas symbols that mean a lot to us, and they don't always jive together. What do I mean when I talk about secular Christmas symbols? You know what the Christmas symbols are to the world. Santa, of course, a sleigh, mistletoes, bells, shopping, Christmas movies. I've got nothing against Christmas movies. I love some of the Christmas movies that are out here. My favorite list is probably not your favorite list, but just real quick, you identify my favorite Christmas movie by the quote. You'll shoot your eye out, kid. The Christmas Story, thank you, and the Red Ryder BB gun. That is a great Christmas movie. Here's another one. Keep the change, you filthy animal. Home Alone. Great one. The way I've answered the phone all week. Buddy the Elf, what's your favorite color? Elf. Elf the movie, perfect. And here, this one is a little, let's see if you get it. I wouldn't kiss him on the lip, Art. He's got a fungus they ain't identified yet. Christmas Vacation, that's right, it's Cousin Eddie, remember in that little moment there? Those are great. They're not very deep with meaning, but they all have this strong Christmassy feel. And if you are watching it, there's a lot of reference to Santa and to lights and all that. Not a lot of references to Jesus. It's funny because these are the Christmas symbols of our world, but for a Christian, there's something deeper. There's something more meaningful to Christmas. Our Christmas symbols are represented up here. There's wise men and shepherds. There's a young couple. There's a baby. These are our Christmas symbols. If you're a guest with us today, just real quick, today I get to wrap up a series we've titled Plastic Christmas. I'm just using that as a metaphor. But going into the Christmas this year, it got me thinking that the world is okay for a short time. The world is okay for a short time to look at plastic Christmas. But the minute Christmas is over, you better be putting plastic Jesus away. And for those of us who are followers of Jesus, that isn't just something that just gets put away easily for us. Plastic is easy to set up, but it's also quick to take down. Plastic is hollow. And I find that a lot of what the world serves up at Christmas time is kind of hollow feeling. And we have something more solid, more flesh and blood. I don't like the idea that these don't stand up well in a storm. Just a little bit of breeze knocks over plastic Christmas pretty fast. What we have as Christians stands up and holds fast in the storms of life. We get through those times. Not that they're easy, not that they don't hurt, not that they don't sometimes cause tears, but we come through those moments. I don't like that plastic Christmas, the lights go out so easily and leaves you in the darkness. What we have as followers of Jesus, we're told we have the light of God in him. He came to bring this light. Those who love the darkness will reject Jesus because they love their darkness more. But some of us have come out of that darkness into this light with him. And then finally, today is the last sermon. I want to talk about plastic Jesus for a little bit. There's a few things that my neighbors who are okay with this for a short time, but they look forward to me putting plastic Jesus away, they don't understand some things that are deep in my heart. And even though I may use plastic as part of my yard decorations, this is much more meaningful than what they've considered. Again, nothing against my neighbors. They're good people. I'm just using them as a metaphor also, but talking about the unbelieving world for a moment. There's a few things my neighbors don't understand. Number one, they do not understand why Jesus had to come down to us. They don't understand the whole reason he came down. Some of you have trains around your Christmas tree. Anyone in the room today, raise your hand if you have a train that runs under your Christmas tree. Anyone? Really? Wow, okay. Well, we don't either. We did one time. I'm going to tell you, the kids were real small, and I put this train set underneath, and they constantly were derailing that train, constantly. And they were too young themselves to put it back on the tracks, so it required me. And did you know, when you got a train set, you cannot put that thing back on the tracks from above. It was a small train, and so I constantly was finding myself down on the floor, looking underneath, because you had to look underneath to line up the rails with the wheels and to get it back on, and then within a few minutes they would derail it again. And so we put that train away, and we do not have it anymore. I can't think of a better image for why Jesus had to come down to this world, because mankind derailed themselves. We refer to it as sin, but we got totally off track from what God wanted for our lives. And in that moment of being derailed, we could not reach God. So God had to come down to us in the form of his son, Jesus. It's the same story that happens way back at the beginning of Genesis chapter 11, that these people are trying to reach God. They're trying to reach the heavens, and they're building this tower. But there's no way, with all their effort, they are not going to be able to reach God. And in this story, if you read it in Genesis 11, it says, God says, let us go down to them. So the whole story in the Bible in Genesis starts with God coming down, and then here in this moment with Jesus being born, God comes down again, and then we're told at the end of the Bible in the book of Revelation that he comes back again. And my neighbor doesn't quite understand all that. It was an angel that announced it early in Matthew chapter 1, verse 21. You shall call his name Jesus, for he will save his people from their sins. This isn't meant to be a sin sermon, but just real quick, there's no one in the room who hasn't failed. No one in the room who has done life perfectly. No one in the room who hasn't made a mistake. No one in the room who hasn't done something that God said don't do. And that disobedience is what's referred to as sin. And Jesus had to come down to a derailed life, which I was, and put me back on track. And a lot of people don't understand that. The second thing, only two things this morning, but the second big thing for me, my neighbor doesn't understand that Jesus is a king. See, plastic Jesus, that's not too threatening. Plastic Jesus isn't real flesh and blood. Plastic Jesus doesn't require a lot from you. You know, most of us will go by this moment and we'll say, I probably could be a little bit of a better person. I got to work hard to stay off the naughty list, you know. And that's kind of our whole religious idea. And they've missed the entire point that Jesus is a king in this story. The birth of Jesus coming to this world is the birth of a king. What do I mean by that? I serve a king. And not everybody is open to doing that. For the young people in the room, for the teenagers who are Christian, boy, I'm proud of you. It takes a lot of courage these days to serve a king, because most people want to serve themselves. and you stepped out and said, no, I'm not going to spend my life serving myself. I'm going to serve a king. And a lot of people aren't comfortable with that. No, they want to call the shots for their life. They want to, this is the life I want, and this is the life I'm going to have. And there's no regard to having a king in their life. They've become their own king. When the three wise men show up inside the story, Matthew chapter 2, what's the first question they ask? Where is he born King of the Jews? That's how Matthew starts his story. Where is he born King of the Jews? This is the introduction to Jesus. Right out of the gate, we're told this little baby is a king. In the middle of his story, we're told he's a king. It's this moment with Pilate in John chapter 18. Pilate asked him, are you a king? Jesus said, well, my kingdom is not of this world. You are a king then, said Pilate. And Jesus said, oh, you are right in calling me a king. And then there's that moment at the death of Jesus, at the cross. And in ancient times, when you crucified a criminal, you'd put the charge over his head. And what did the sign over the head of Jesus? What was the accusation? King of the Jews is what it said. And then in the book of Revelation, when Jesus comes a second time, he comes on a white stallion crowned with many crowns. My unbelieving neighbor doesn't understand that this isn't just about a plastic Jesus in my life. This is about a king. And he's my king. And he could be your king. Christmas without Jesus is Christmas without miracles. Christmas without Jesus is Christmas without hope. Christmas without Jesus is a Christmas without a future. Christmas without Jesus is a Christmas without a king. You know what I'm hoping for, my neighbors, today? You know what I'm hoping for our guests today? I'm hoping that something will awaken in you, and you'll take a little closer look at what real Christmas is all about. I'm not calling you a Grinch, but I'm hoping for a Grinch moment in you. You know how the story goes. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons, came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled 3 hours until his puzzler was sore. And then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. For all the derailed lives in the room, aren't you glad Jesus came down? For everyone who has shipwrecked their own life, living their life the way they want it, aren't you glad that you have a king now that you follow and serve? Yeah, I pray that God will awaken the hearts of my neighbors. Father in heaven, today for all of us, what a special little moment this was. This was good for us to just come to church on a Christmas morning. Father, what a privilege it was for me. I don't know if I'll be afforded this privilege again. I question it. And so thank you for the opportunity to stand in front of a Christmas morning crowd and to proclaim your Son as my King. Father, many of us in this room do so today. Help us through this next year. Bless us. Be kind to us. Hear our prayers and give us the desires of our heart. But regardless, Father, regardless of what comes, we stand bold and courageous. We are followers of the King. And it's in his name I pray today. Amen.